Hello and welcome to the Sunshine Cathedral. We hope that you have enjoyed a wonderful holiday season, and as we enter this new year of 2015, we invite you to worship with us at the Sunshine Cathedral on Sundays at 9 and 10:30 a.m. If you're in the Fort Lauderdale area, we're very easy to find. We invite you to worship with us in person, but if you're worshiping with us via the website, we say many blessings to you and hope that you will have an opportunity to visit our campus soon. But now, as we enter this new year of 2015, join us now for the exciting worship here at the Sunshine Cathedral.
Our first reading is a reading from the wisdom of psychologist Robert Holden. The Dalai Lama's physician once said, "The key to health and happiness is to empty your bowl of yesterday's rice." What is yesterday's rice? It is your past. In particular, it is all your old disappointments, grievances, and wounds. Every day I counsel people who are haunted by the ghost of the past. Their mind is full of sticky rice. They hold their past against themselves, cruelly replaying mistakes, failures, heartbreaks, errors, and moments of weakness. Whenever you are unhappy, you are probably replaying old movies in your mind. If when you are in fear or pain, you can have the presence to say, "This is about the past," you immediately create an opening in your mind for healing, inspiration, forgiveness, and something new. In these human words, God's voice is heard.
Our second reading is a reading from the prophet Jeremiah. "The days are surely coming, says the Infinite, when I will make a new covenant with you. It will not be like the covenant that I made with your ancestors when I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, a covenant that they broke, though I was their spouse. But this is the covenant that I will make with you, says the Infinite. I will put my law within you, and I will write it on your hearts, and I will be your God, and you shall be my people. In these human words, God's voice is heard.
Acknowledge all the people who are at the AIDS walk today. Of course, they don't know I'm acknowledging them because they're not here, but you can tell them that we're thinking about them and praying for them. And I want to thank those of you who contributed to their efforts as they're raising money, using their bodies to raise money to help other bodies that have HIV. So we're very proud of our team walking today and the good work they're doing. And I also want to just sort of come clean, just acknowledge right up front that today the tone of my sermon is a little different than is my default programming. We love the rah-rah stuff. Oh, we're good at it. When someone is acting out there and we call them out on it, or when there's injustice and we need to stand for what is right, or when we need to march, when we need to write letters, when we need to pray, when we need to hold a vigil, when we need to be seen as the voice showing care and concern for important issues, we're good at that. We're very, very good at that. And we get excited about that, especially at 10:30, because we've had a lot more coffee than the people at 9. And we'll just, woohoo, justice, let's go get them. But then there are other times where we really have to sort of focus on things that aren't as energizing, but also very important, where we have to talk about healing. And to talk about healing, we have to acknowledge what is hurting. We have to acknowledge pain. We have to acknowledge brokenness. To invite the wholeness, we have to recognize where it doesn't seem to be showing up. And that is a little less exciting. That's a little less fun. And to talk about it with integrity, one must share personally. And to share personally involves a lot of vulnerability. And so the tone of when we talk about healing is very different than when we are talking about confronting injustices. So when we're speaking pastorally versus speaking prophetically, there's a slightly different tone. And yet we see that tone presented in the reading from the prophet Jeremiah today. In the biblical reading from the prophet Jeremiah, we see that writer offering hope to hurting people. But they're his people, and he's sharing their pain. He is going through what they're going through. He is talking from personal experience, and so he has to be a little bit vulnerable to say, this is what is happening to us. And now, as one of you, I'm calling you to hope. I'm calling you to strength. I'm calling you to renewal. I'm calling us to renewal, he's saying. His people know the stories about how their ancestors felt close to God, and how they heard from God, and how they were guided by God, how God led them into freedom, and how there were miracles in their lives. And yet, to his people, that seems so long ago. To the community he's writing to, that seems like ancient history. And now, they are feeling broken. They are feeling abandoned. They are feeling afraid. They are feeling disappointed. They're feeling hurt. And the prophet says to them that the covenant with their ancestors wasn't the end of their story. The prophet assures them that God is in relationship with them too. Now, the covenant may look different. The covenantal relationship may not look like it did. Our experience of it may not look like what our ancestors experienced. Our needs may be different. Our vocabulary may be different. It won't look exactly the same, and yet it is the same all-inclusive loving presence that will not let us go. And so this God that our ancestors believed in and experienced, that God is our God too, and we are God's people, and the future can be brighter than the current moment of pain. That all the good stuff we read about from our ancestors, that wasn't the end of good stuff. Yes, we're hurting now, but their God is our God, and so there is reason to hope even still. Now, have you ever noticed how great the past is? Have you ever noticed how wonderful, like someone you can't get along with, you can barely stand them, but after they died, they were your very best friend? Or that ex-partner that you're so happy to throw in that word ex because, you know, that didn't work out. But then some years go by, and that was your best friend in the world. Oh, they were sweet. Oh, that was the way a relationship ought to be. Remember that? Remember how it never was? And so, when we romanticize the past and compare our current difficulties to that amazing past that didn't really happen the way we're choosing to remember sometimes, when we compare our present pain to that romanticized past, then we will be left with disappointment. How can the current challenge ever compare with that fantasy of that amazing yesteryear? And similarly, if we get stuck in a painful past, well, the reason this, that, and the other thing cannot work out for me is because of this terrible, terrible thing that happened a long time ago. If we get stuck in the painful past, we will keep reliving the pain of the past. And if we're reliving the past pain, we can't have better experiences in the present. We can't have healing now if we are clinging tightly to what needs to be healed. If we are so identified with the pain, how will we ever let it go? Whether we glorify the past or blame the past for all of our current challenges, either way, if we are stuck in the past, we can't navigate the present effectively. And that's why we remind ourselves every week here that the past is past and the future has infinite possibilities. But the infinite possibilities of the future means not dragging the past with us. We've got to let the past be past to experience that new and glorious future. You know what? It's pretty common for people who grew up in abusive or neglectful homes, or who spent their formative years being marginalized by social institutions, to always replay the past, comparing the present to it, or blaming the difficulties of the present on it. But if we think that our best days are behind us, or that the pain of the past defines us or limits us today, then we will continually feel victimized. We will always be angry or embarrassed or sad, and the more we wallow in those feelings, the more intense they become. It was a healing and liberating moment the day that I realized that I will never have a better past. Why didn't anybody tell me? That just seemed like so miraculous, like the voice of God just spoke to me. Durrell, you will never have a better past. Oh, wow, that's true, isn't it? So I better get to work on what I can do, which is right here and right now. By always reliving those glory days, that great time in high school, which was, already almost 10 years ago, or by always still complaining about that terrible time in high school. Whatever, that's way back then. If I think the best is behind me, or if I think the worst that is behind me is still controlling my today, I am stuck. I'll never have a better yesterday. You know what, when I was a kid, I watched a lot of TV. Television was my babysitter, and formed who I am today. And there were a lot of perfect families on television when I was young. There was the Brady Bunch. The Brady Bunch were two perfect families that came together and made a better family. There was the courtship of Eddie's father. Do you remember that? There was Family Affair, a bachelor, what was his name? Bill Davis, a bachelor. Just suddenly he has 3 new children just enter his life. His 2 nieces and nephew, just boom, there he is. Luckily he has a butler to help raise them, but he just loves them, and without any parenting classes or any plans for parenting or any parenting experience, he's just the best caregiver ever. Wouldn't that be nice? And then there was the Partridge Family, another great family. Not only were they a great family, but they were cranking out #1 hits and had a really fun bus. Oh, there were some great families that I was watching on TV. And then when I just got a little bit older, there were the Huxtables. And weren't they just perfect? Oh, those parents, they knew everything, and they were always kind, and they never had a short fuse, and everybody just was successful and growing up to be great, and it just was all good. Oh, those TV families, however, were not my family. In addition to less than ideal family dynamics, I was also an obviously gay kid in a small rural environment in the fundamentalist Bible Belt. There's only a few ways that could have gone. None of them terribly enjoyable. So to say that my childhood wasn't always safe or happy would be to really undersell it. But I can't go back. I can't change any of that. I can't fix any of that. I can't go back. I can only go forward. Trying to fix the unfixable past only keeps us stuck in the pain of the past. And if we stay stuck in past pain, we keep hurting ourselves. And that obviously will delay our healing. It may keep our healing from happening at all. And if we are hurting too much, we'll even wind up hurting other people. Today's readings are meant to encourage anyone who knows what it is to struggle. If you've never had a hard time, if you've never had a time of struggling, if you never flunked out of anything, if you never had a relationship crash and burn, if you've never been fired, if you've never been laid off, if your business never went belly up, if you never got a scary diagnosis, if you've never had a struggle, if you had a perfect childhood, if you live in a perfect neighborhood, if you only have perfect neighbors and perfect coworkers, then please, I need to meet you after the service because I have a lot of questions for you. I want to know how you get that. But for people who have known struggles, these readings are meant to encourage us. At times, we may feel broken, but we can move forward. The pain may feel very real, but it can heal. The future has infinite possibilities, and that is something that encourages me daily, and I hope it can encourage you. Now, why would I need encouragement? I'm glad you asked. You would be amazed how routinely pastors are viciously attacked. Not physically assaulted necessarily. Stand by me, don't go anywhere, just in case. But not necessarily physically attacked, but constantly berated, constantly just worn down, treated as if they don't have human emotions, treated as if they didn't answer a calling to serve people, treated as if they didn't have good intentions for doing what they do, but as if they were somehow the enemy of the world, and that these people who notice that, it's their job to take the enemy down. How did we get to that position? Studies now show that many pastors leave the profession to which they felt called and for which they spent years training after only about 5 years in ministry. It takes longer to prepare for ministry than some people are able to stay in it. Many pastors suffer from burnout or are treated for depression. When my colleagues ask for prayer, it is usually because they are being targeted by someone or a small group of people in their church. You know what? When what's that hateful church in Kansas? They show up with the God hates fags and they're always trying to torture people. That never sends people to the doctor wanting prescription medication. No, it's never the outside enemies. It's always the inside snipers from the people you love and are trying to serve. And these colleagues will say, please pray for me. There's this person or that person or this group. And it's just weighing, so I don't know how I can face it. But that is because hurting people hurt people. And we are a beacon for hurting people. So as long as we are inviting in hurting souls to come in and journey with us toward healing, there's going to be some horizontal violence along the way. And I have my own war wounds. I could tell you about threats, really threats. I could tell you about insults. I could tell you about slander and whisper campaigns and organized attempts to publicly humiliate me or my staff. I could tell you stories of my 16-year relationship being disrespected. I could tell you stories of the faith that has sustained me for 48 years and has literally saved my life a couple of times. That faith being questioned. I could tell you of innumerable, literally innumerable, because I long ago quit counting or saving them, innumerable unsigned written lectures telling me about what I don't know from Shinola. I once heard a minister say that the Christian army is the only army that shoots its own soldiers. And I have plenty of wounds from so-called friendly fire. So why do I do what I do? I'm sharing my story, but this is really about you, and you'll see why in a minute. Why do I do what I do? Why do you do what you do? Maybe your challenges are different. Maybe you have had different experiences, but I bet you've had challenges. I bet you have come, why am I raising these ungrateful children? Why am I trying to make this difficult relationship work? Why am I in this profession? Why am I trying to finish this degree? Why am I doing what I'm doing? If there's all of this coming against me, why do I do what I do? Well, I can tell you why I do what I do. Because I love it. Because this is my privilege and my joy. And not only do I love what I do, I love the community for whom I do it. I choose to focus on the moments of tender connection, on those moments of breakthroughs, on those moments of shared victory, on those moments of shared insights, on those moments of community building, on those moments of healing, on those moments of people coming together, learning to love themselves and celebrate who they are. Those magical, miraculous moments outnumber the others by far. How dare I ever give energy or focus to the negative stuff when there are so many positive, beautiful, loving moments to celebrate and share? Oh, now I forget sometimes. Oh, I do. And I'll get stuck for a minute in all that yucky stuff. But I always come back around to the present moment of potential and the future filled with possibilities. If I stayed focused on the bad experiences, I couldn't get out of bed. I would get stuck in a story of blame and shame and fear and regret that could leave me in mental quicksand. And guess what? I have been there. But I refuse to stay there. We are always free to embrace peace and happiness in the now. And in the now, I have to notice and be grateful for all the people who are growing, for all the people who are healing, for all the people who are seeking to be their best, for all the people who are sharing love and kindness, all the people who routinely show their appreciation for this church that we are building together. I have to notice and appreciate all the people who support this ministry with their time, talent, and treasure, who say encouraging things, who pray for me and for one another. When I think of what is wonderful and what is still possible, I just don't have time to waste crying over the BS, bad stuff. We have lives to heal and literally lives to save. We can't be distracted by the pettiness. We can't be distracted by things that are already past. We've got to get busy doing what is needed now, building what is needed for tomorrow. Because as good as things are getting in some places, as much as some things are improving for some people, there is still more work to do. There are still too many tears being shed. There are still too many people being pushed to the margins. And we have to believe in ourselves so that we have that gift to offer who need it for themselves. We have to keep moving forward. The past is past, and the future has infinite possibilities. Think of something terrible that has happened in your life. And let's spend just a few seconds right now really feeling sorry for ourselves about it. Ready, go. Okay, time's up. It's over. It's over. Now let's get moving forward. Abusive parents, mean teachers, miserable neighbors, unfaithful partners, ungrateful kids, chronically bitter fault finders. Maybe they hurt us and hurt us badly. We don't have to say they didn't. We don't have to pretend that that didn't happen. But maybe it can help us heal to realize that they were acting out of their own pain and insecurity. They didn't come here that way. They didn't come here wanting to make other people miserable. They were acting out of their own misery. They were acting out of their own fear. Somebody hurt them at some point, and they never had an environment to help them heal. And so they kept acting out of their pain. We're all victims of victims. We can't fix them, though, but we can decide that we will not allow the psychic vomit they spewed at us define or deter us. I'm not trying to win the admiration of the haters. I'm trying to tell as many people as will dare to hear that they are God's miracle and not God's mistake. And to share that message effectively, I have to believe it about myself, and so do you. And as we embrace and model that truth, those who want to be healed will see that it is possible, and they will follow our example, and they will enter into their own season of miracles. I share my experiences only to let you know that whatever yours are, you can find peace beyond pain and hope beyond horror, and you can move into a blessed future starting right now. So how do you release the past? Sounds good, if only I knew how. How do we move past the regret and shame we've been carrying around for years? How do we heal the fears we've been dragging around? How do we begin to mend the feeling of brokenness and embrace the truth of our innate wholeness? Some of our insecurities, our anxieties, our fears, our regrets, our bitterness, they're just scars from past experiences. And we keep the negative feelings alive so that they attract more experiences similar to that negative energy. But we can find each of those psychic wounds and heal them and move on. MCC pioneer, the Reverend Elder Frieda Smith, says about those issues in our lives, about those things that are holding us down, that are holding us back, that are dragging us down, that are keeping us from our full potential and from living in joy. She says about each of those things, find it, fix it. Find it, face it, fix it, finish it, and forget it. Find it, face it, fix it, finish it, and forget it. If we don't release it, then it isn't fixed or finished, and we're still stuck in a past that no longer exists. We may need help finding, facing, and fixing the issues, but there is help to be had. We can seek the help of support groups and therapists and physicians, and we can also do the following 4 things. We can pray. Praying really does generate strength and hope and comfort that can help sustain us during troubling times. It doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be powerful. It can be very simply, God, I am ready to release the pain of the past. Please help me feel better. That's all it takes. I'm not saying what will happen in that moment, but I am saying that inviting the power of prayer into the moment does offer something. 2, and it sounds cliche, but there's truth in it. Look for the silver lining. Most things, even very painful things, offer a lesson, an opportunity, a hidden blessing, or at very least proof of how strong we were to survive it. There is always a silver lining. And another possibly trite expression, but nevertheless good advice, is count your blessings. If focusing on what was unfair kept us down, focusing on what is good, or at least possible, can lift us up. We can't be grateful and bitter at the same time. So while we are finding things to be thankful for, we aren't obsessing about what makes us sad. And finally, be generous. Giving feels good. When we bless others, we feel blessed. When we bless others, we know we have blessings to give. Giving reminds us of how fortunate we are, which is one more thing to be thankful for. And while we're thankful for that, we're not sad about something else. Do you see the cycle? Pray, look for the silver lining, count your blessings, and be generous. This is really an effective formula for helping us lessen the burdens of the past that we have carried around too long. Let go of the past, and the past will let go of you. Whether it was this morning's argument or a devastating event from a decade ago, we will never have a better past, but the future is wide open. And we can choose thoughts of hope and love and peace right now that will lead us into an amazing future. Maybe our past was difficult. Maybe our parents were unhappy. Maybe our grandparents were afraid. But they aren't us. And their lives aren't necessarily a blueprint for our lives. Even our own past difficulties need not be replayed in our future. The past is past. Leave it there. The past may have been painful, but it is the past. Acknowledge it and release it. Let it go and start moving forward. The past is past, and the future has infinite possibilities. And this is the good news. Amen.
Hello, I want to thank you for joining us for worship today here at the Sunshine Cathedral. Again, if you're ever in the Fort Lauderdale area, please stop by and worship with us on Sundays at 9 and 10:30 a.m. If you'd like to find out more about the Sunshine Cathedral, about our resources, or about our books published by our senior pastor, the Reverend Dr. Durrell Watkins, or if you'd like to make a donation to the Sunshine Cathedral, please visit us at www.sunshinecathedral.org. Until the next time, may God continue to richly bless you on your journey.